What up, weebs? It's Corn here, and today is one of those more interesting days where we are now finally allowed to talk about what's going on behind the scenes in Broken Arrow, and what of the next patch? Is it going to be an absolutely slugfest of just sweat lords playing against each other, or is it actually going to be beginner friendly? Well, find out with this video, because for the next couple, I don't know for how long it's going to take me, but it's a long patch, a very long patch. So yeah, let's begin talking about it. And the first one is actually, I think we'll go through the actual technical changes here, and before we continue. So the first thing is most notably is the line of sight tool. Right now, if you press Alt, it's always like in the live version it's been pretty like lackluster, but now if you press Alt, it immediately shows up, and then after a couple seconds it shows you, okay, I'm gonna freeze right here. It's gonna show you the green line where you can spot a sniper, and then the red line, which is like approximate, like the maximum distance of where you're actually able to spot a unit with one stealth. Although normally infantry have 1.75, so if you really wanted to do that, I think you could change it to like 1.75 like this. Okay, so it's the green one. Then the green line goes back up to 1.75, and it also shows the weapons distances, which is quite interesting. Although, like it helps you, like this tool, dragging tool, basically helps you indicate where your opponents are. And normally you would only be on the left-hand side, but if it's in a forest, then maybe double it. So for normal infantry, this is stealth infantry, but like for normal scout infantry, they're like 1.75. In a forest, you just bump it up to like 3.5. And then like this is your spotting range, and like for an enemy in like either a building or that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much the line of sight tool. That all I can say for now, which is pretty nice, you know, if you think about it. I think it's a massive improvement to what we had before. Good work to the devs. And then after that, the next one would be next one is gonna be, okay, yeah, we have the new observer mode. I'll show you it right in a little bit. And then hotkeys to enable disable real vision for the selected unit. I'm not sure where it is, but since they mentioned it, hotkeys to disable. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So this is probably good for snipers. Oh, okay, it's right here. Oh, sorry, I didn't like it's in the settings. It's in controls right here at the very bottom. Turn off all weapons and selected unit line of sight. Wait, okay, so if I press K, I disable all my weapons. It's not over here in the panel. And if I press L, or is it J? Oh, if I press J, it shows the thing, so I don't have to press Alt all the time. I can zoom, I can use this thing. So it's K and J for now, and you can change it in the settings as well, which is pretty nice. Okay, just found out about that. Afterwards, we have, what is this? The ability to save and share color present presets for unit labels, so that I can share my opponent's colors with you. And also, okay, unit paths and action queues. This is something to do with like they basically nowadays they used to use a like a white line, right? Nowadays it's basically just an arrow. You know, it's an arrow. If I press fast move, it moves that way, like that, maybe like that. Oh, okay, well that's fast move. So it basically shows you where and which direction the thing is going, and then when you hold shift, it basically tells you what it's trying to do, right? Like if I fast move here and then I attack move there, I press shift, like it shows everything what it's trying to do. And same with this, right? If I hold shift, then it shows what it's trying to do. So that's pretty nice as well. Although some people do find the arrow to be annoying. Like, I mean, you just get used to it, right? It's like a good visualization tool for people who don't like looking at teeny tiny white lines. And then we also have, oh yeah, this is a really important one where you can use in-game chat and talk about it. I'll just pull this out real quick. This is a, oh sorry, I don't think it's this one. Is it this one? Which one is it? Oh, my bad. I think I figured out what went wrong here. So, as you can see, this game, this game that I played, you can actually use a chat box in the upper right-hand side of the map. In map select, I believe it's on the upper right, so you just gotta make sure that you don't get it wrong. I'm pretty sure that, yeah, like I can type right here and everyone knows. You can even type in all chat if you want to shit talk your opponents, but that's up to you. The drawings, the map plans, they do not share, so this is probably one of the best changes. And this is only, I mean, this is not just in, like, after you load into the map. This is even in map selection and deck, and when you choose your decks. So you can communicate with your teammate and how everything goes. This is a custom match, so I couldn't demonstrate it here, but it's the case. I think this is a really well, like, sought after or well requested change. So that's also really good, fantastic, that they've been doing for months. You can also mute players from now the in-game chat, and also yeah some new voice lines that I actually won't ever notice because I play without voice lines. Repeat it again. So it used to be like maybe like this or this, and then now you can zoom out all the way here. So you can basically go sightseeing at this point. All right, and then the next thing would be, I think, okay, performance improvements, that's nice. Some server-sided processing of AoE damage. Checking server availability. Yes, like so we've noticed this when you go into in a private match. I'm pretty sure this is also going to be the case for public for like normal ranked games, where it makes sure that people won't accidentally like load into the game and then they like some teammate just disconnects and then the map is cancelled or something. I think this is a you know technical change. Unit ghost. So sometimes when you load an infantry into a transport, they actually don't go in and get shot at. That's also like one of the things that's pretty nice. That can be dragged and dropped and no longer appear near the cursor when protecting units. What? Okay, I'm not sure what that means. Anyways, okay, so this is for the editor, I think. Yeah, this is for the editor. So normally, I mean, I would read this, but you don't have to. So let's skip that as well. There are some reverted changes from the previous live patch, and I know you basically, okay, if you want it to be if you want to take it like for a TLDR, quickly, it's basically like most of the changes that they introduced last anniversary patch were kind of just removed. So for example, the sneak ability is now gone, or is it? Yeah. And then the dismount delay of about 1 second is now also removed. Infinite supply is no more, although it's now finite. You get a certain amount of supplies per vehicle. And then also, SAMs now go back to 1 second of aim time, and it's still better, still better than 1 to 2. But there's still a certain delay. And then smoke for all artillery pieces are now 60 seconds. And then you can also no longer intercept seed with iglas, stingers with radars, and then also some like. Wait, seed and cruise missiles removed? Wait, for real? Hold up, I need to check this. That's crazy. Oh, I might keep making these mistakes today. And then, but yeah, like here, Stingers, Fletcher, they don't intercept cruise missiles, but this does. And then just the Tunguska, and then the Osa, oh sorry, this Tunguska. And then the Osa. Right there. And then the next thing would be... Oh, well, like, I guess we're done with this part. So everything removed and all the tech changes. So if you okay, now for the actual PTE changes, and okay, so most of the changes here were from the first PTE. However, they did add a couple things, and they did it with like a bit of internal testing. Well, let's just say they did a bit of testing with like the player testers, and also the content creators did a bit of testing. Although there were a lot of like arguments like here and there. Like we couldn't really settle on how or like which way the game should go, and this is kind of like a middle point between making the game more lethal and the last PTE. But let's just, like, this is a TLDR, but let's just quickly go through all the changes. Holy, it's like we're only 10 minutes in. Alright, for example, you now can only save up to 1,500 points. You have a dynamic income system, which... How do I explain this? Alright, so let me quickly explain this to you. I know this is a really poorly drawn graph, but oops. So this is 300 income, and this is like if you have 5,000 points of units on the field. So the blue line is the one where when on live, you know, like the bigger your army value, the less income you have. It's pretty straightforward. On the PTE, however, this income is very controversial. It's basically like, okay, so if you have, if you lost your entire opener, you do get more income. And then also, if you happen to like reach a certain point, you also the income also stays at that point around 200, I believe, or a bit more than 200. I think at around 200, and then you can keep building your army with the 200 income instead of it going down to like 150 or 150. So overall, the idea is that you get more income in general. So yeah, go try it out, see how it goes, and then I'll talk about the next change. That would be, sorry, I'm still closing all my tabs. There's so many things. That would be the new conquest mode, and this isn't the previous conquest we had on the PT where people thought it was flawed. Although I still think it's not perfect here, but you know it's kind of like a combination of the live version and the PTE version. So basically, I think I need I think I need Paint 2D again. Hold up. All right, so this is assuming that we have 3 caps, right? Okay, 3 caps. Let's just assume you have 3 caps, all right? So actually 4. How about 4? Yeah. Well, why don't we have 4? Okay, two contest caps in the middle. One is taken by. This is what we have. Okay, so let's say it's even. Red has this cap, and then blue has this cap. So now it's even. Now no, it's even, right? It's the same thing. No one gets any points. But let's say today Alpha or the blue guy takes this middle cap, or even if he decaps it, you know. Blue team is starting to get some points, and then when they reach 200, which is about 3 minutes time, or a bit more than that, I think, you get a war goal. You get 1 war goal, +1, +1. However, if red takes back the cap, then they start to lose points. Also, it caps at 1. It doesn't go further. It doesn't go further. It just caps at like +1. So if you have 1 more cap than your opponent, then you only get +1 as a result after 3 minutes. And if they take the cap back, you actually lose this advantage. And then it goes back to, you go back to ground zero. It goes even again. So it's kind of like a balance between like the previous very exaggerated PTE version of Conquest and also the live version that we have. It's much more like live, so I do recommend people to play for KD rather than for the cap itself, because as long as you can take the cap back in time, not to like 3 minutes before the end of the phase, you should be fine. And let's get on to the next one. This is a pretty important change. I think you would actually need a separate video to explain it. But anyways, increased surrection times for death for all units. This is a bit interesting, okay? So you kind of have, like, for example, artillery pieces have a very long cooldown time. And then SAMs are actually pretty okay, because, like, they're actually your main air defense things. So once you lose the artillery pieces, it's going to hurt a lot. Okay, especially MLRS, I suppose. And that's not all the changes still. For infantry, it's kind of, let's use soft as for an example, shall we? So for the really strong, like CQC specialized units, they're pretty much almost like 9 minutes. Just like, okay, and then like for the normal infantry, they're more like 7 minutes. Okay, but okay, this is sorry, got it wrong. For normal infantry, normal line infantry, these are like 4 or 5 minutes, and then for the specialized infantry, like the combat recon, they're close to 9 minutes. Same with this. Same goes for the really good Delta Force and Cherny Bereti from these guys. Yeah, 9.5 minutes. And then, like, for the more standard infantry, they're around 7 minutes. Like, the stronger ones, but not the 6 armored ones. And then, yeah, then I think weapon teams are also pretty expensive. Oh, no, I guess I'm wrong. No, this is 6 minutes. What about the spike? Okay, so around 7 minutes. Alright, that's fair enough. But it does scale a bit around price. And then, afterwards, we are going to be covering... Okay, spawn size for both teams are now assigned randomly in standard matches. Okay. Delay between bursts of automatic weapons for vehicle. Okay, so this is more like if you're stressed, let's say the Booker is stressed, it shoots pew pew pew, right? And on the live version, if it's stressed, it shoots a bit slower. So this basically helps with autocannons a little bit, and then you can read this for yourself. All right, so I read through most of the things from infantry squads, transport vehicles, everything here, and they mostly have stayed the same as the PTE. And I understand that 2/3 of the player base have not tested this out, but the the idea, the short version, is that for infantry, okay, I'll go through them one by one, but very quickly. The first one is that most infantry weapons now have 100 meters more range. Some thermal barracks have 400, some thermal barracks have 500 range. Small arms are sometimes 600, or usually around 600, but like the rifle, that's for the machine guns, but for the light machine guns. But for the small arms, they could be 500, CQC weapons 400, and then the most important change actually here, not only, I mean, it's not just the range changes, range increase, it's also the, where is it? Right here. Okay, infantry resist system inverted. So basically, now infantry take the least amount of damage when they're full HP or when they just got into a fight, and once they go into shock and panic, they take more and more damage. So when you just get into the fight, you should actually be aware of their like whether they're panicked or not, because once they panic, they die really fast. And then I think that's about it. Yeah, some aim time changes for ATGMs and not manpads, ATGMs, and then I think that basically covers almost everything. Oh yeah, and then like thermobaric weapons also have way less penetration now. So this is just to keep very light transport vehicles safe, like the Russian ones, and sometimes the US ones, but mainly the Russian IMVs. For example, like this dual purpose one, like the one the Zalukai had, that was kind of bugged last patch. It's not there anymore, so definitely got nerfed. And then the biggest change here is that okay, not the biggest, but another change is that most ATGMs now have a pretty big or high resupply value, and that's because we'll talk about this right now, and that's the resupply ability. And I understand that previously it was like infinite for live, but then they kind of wanted it back where they wanted it to be limited, so it kind of made sense where you wouldn't just pull out a mountain load of supplies from one striker, so it made more sense if it was limited. So most vehicles have around 250 to 400. If your IFV has a gun or is kind of special, it should be 250. And if it's like one of those unarmored, or like not unarmored, but the less armed infantry carrier, then it would be 400. And then for Russia, you get a bit of, the War Pig gets more supplies, and also same with these two are the ones from the Ognmechiki squad in mechanized, right here. This guy, or Oda, this guy. So these two have 800. Afterwards, I think that's all about the. So basically, this is trying to encourage you to not spam ATGMs with the infantry fighting vehicles. I mean to like quickly resupply them with them. So basically, make sure that you have to go back to a supply dump eventually. And then, well, this is still gonna, it's kind of like it demands you to not just sit there in AFK with with like APCs behind buildings. It kind of makes sense, Can't make everyone too lazy playing an RTS. And then the sneak ability is no longer here. But they still managed to like buff up the stealth value for some of these units, for the ones that actually don't have a big gun on it. But for the ones who have a gun on it, besides the tanks, they actually had their stealth value reduced, which it's kind of weird, but okay, sure, buddy. And then we're finally at like combat vehicles, and here the biggest change I believe is the tank buffs, which they used on the PT. They used to be 2 to 3 seconds of aim time, and compared to live, that's 1 second less. But now it's even shorter. It's like 1.5 seconds shorter than on live. I'll basically halved its aim time. So tanks are now not only aim faster, they deal more damage, they basically they do have the ability to two-tap tanks now. Most tanks now, especially from the side or from the rear, and then I think yeah, and then like ATGMs, most ATGMs did. I think their aim time stayed mostly the same. So you're kind of living in a world where using ATGM is no longer effective anymore, because of how aim time on guns are just so short. So I think that I would discourage people from using infantry fighting vehicles with ATGMs to deal with tanks. Just use tanks to deal with tanks other other like infantry to ambush them. And then also, cover ignoring with HE shells, so they now deal much more damage, a bit more damage depending on the caliber of it. A bit more damage to infantry hiding inside buildings and ATGM teams. And then finally the support tab, which it's a bit messy, but generally they have more range. The resupply time for howitzers is now back to the old live version. I know this is messy, sorry guys, but bear with me. So just forget about the resupply changes for the howitzers, but the MLRS resupply is now basically the same as live, and ballistic missiles also have more range. I mean, like, range for everything basically increased. And then the one thing that I think people will have a big issue with is now that there are 3 tiers of artillery. There is the really cheap ones, the cheap ones, the better ones, and then the best ones. That being said, the best ones kind of suck now, and that's because they kind of limited the salvo length to 1, 2, or 3. So you can only shoot. Sorry, wrong tab. So you can only shoot like a couple of them, a couple rounds. So let's use the Co for an example. My favorite artillery piece from the Baltic Battalion. You now only shoot 1, 2, or 3 shells per salvo, and then afterwards you have to aim again. So it's kind of annoying because, like, what's so good about the fast reload, right? Like, I mean, shoot and scooting wise, it's wonderful, but you can't really use that fast reload to saturate an area with the guns anymore because you can only fire 3 shells and then you gotta aim again. It's kind of counterintuitive for an artillery piece that's this premium, but that's what we've been having on the PT for a while, and even though we've like we know it's a problem, like they couldn't fix it yet. They also changed the configuration of some units, also increased their prices drastically, so when you load into PT, don't be surprised by the prices, and then I'll just skip all of this. Also, a lot of changes to mortars and this and that, to make things a bit more interesting. But generally, like most of the things here were standardized besides the resupply time, which is actually much more important. And then also, oh no, they standardized it. Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, they did. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Right, I guess I'm talking with my head of my ass or something. My bad. Also, like all the changes here, all the cooldown times, they're a bit longer. Like the resupply time for MLRs are a bit longer than live, and I think that's all you need to know. A bit longer than live, and the one thing that's kind of weird is that MLRS and GMLRS, like the guided MLRS, they no longer have a resupply time difference, right? As you can see here, it's not different anymore. They basically just went screw you, and then made the unguided MLRS actually resupply time as much as the guided ones. And finally, I'll talk about the SAMs, and this would be the, well, probably, I personally think it's very disappointing, because for SAMs, they basically forced you, and not only do they have less range, I have a comparison right here. Okay, so there is sorry for the light mode here, but there is a bit of comparison here, and if you use, so basically this is the new version. This is the new anniversary patch. This was the PT, and this was the old live. So, also I think I got it wrong. They did bring back 1-tap, so that's a good thing, I guess. Okay, but the aim time, I think it's actually 1 second now. Okay, it's regulated 1 second. I guess no, what am I doing? But the burst interval pretty much stayed the same. The radar multiplier. Wait, have they stayed the same? Because like this was a while ago. Maybe I got it wrong. Okay. Sorry guys, just let me make sure one thing. Packs have. Oh, ×2 multiplier still. Okay. So maybe, okay, so right here. The multiplier for most SAMs are now ×2 for low altitude and ×2 for high altitude. The multipliers are bigger now because they have much less range. So they kind of force you to have to turn your radar on. So I have a couple numbers wrong here. Just gonna quickly change them. So maybe a couple more numbers here are different, but generally, you now have less range than the anniversary patch. Let's use live, compare live to PTE, right? So for the one-tap SAMs, uh, you have a bit less range. Okay, much less range, especially when you have radar off. And then you aim a bit, your aim time is a bit longer. And then you still have the burst interval issue, which I'm pretty sure, did they change it? Burst interval. Yeah, so they still kept it. So for the one-tap SAMs, they fire slower. And then for the terminal guidance ones, like the S350, PAC-3s, MSEs, Iris, Book M3, and also was that about it? Also the NASM was with the AMRAAM ERs. They have a bit shorter burst interval than the the heavier ones, basically the ones at one tap. So that's about it. And then yeah, but generally I really don't think SAMs are good anymore because they got nerfed so hard. Like sure they kept the one tap, so it's still nice to have one around, but um I think that now they're kind of encouraging you to use more seed and make seed more rewarding, uh, or like to make them turn off their radars. Afterwards, we have helicopter units that also got buffed again. Oh, wait, why is it? Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Did he just disappear in front of my eyes? Hello? Someone did something. Okay, I think the only change. Okay, I'll talk like I'm like I remember all the changes. So the helicopters basically. I think this mostly affects the Russian helicopters. They made the ATGMs aim slower. I think this was also on live patch, and then they made them a bit more. They adjusted a lot of the prices. I think yeah, they don't have it here. So they made Russia's like all the helicopters, not just Russia's, much cheaper. Like the killer eggs, you know, although they did nerf its HP, so now any single like even the Igla can one tap it. Even the Igla can one tap it right here. Like deal 7 damage and 6 HP. So bam, the killer one shot and the killer egg's dead. Everything one shots a killer egg now. So that's pretty much a massive nerf to the killer egg. Uh, and also most helicopters are cheaper, like the transport helicopters. Um, the a lot of Russian like the attack helicopters are also much more affordable, so you don't really need to worry about losing to US in the helicopter fight because you're not only are your helicopters cheaper now, they also are more tanky and more durable, and that your biggest threat, the killer egg, is also now down in the dirt. So me personally, I think Russia definitely has the capabilities of competing with a US on the flanks now. And then, okay, so I did miss a couple things. For example, like the dispersion for rockets or this and that. Sidearm, which is a seed for helicopters, supply time increase. Cruise missile and seed supply time increased. I did miss one thing, and that is the Guardian moving from airborne to spec ops again for some reason. At least move the longbow. And then also the Lemur, which is on the not the K, the Mi-28 NM in VDV, in the VDV specialization. They now fire much faster. I mean, they fly much faster, basically. So they're very lethal. Basically like the Hellfire of the US arsenal. So that's about it. Everything I missed. Back to the video. Afterwards, I mean, we just skipped the helicopter part, right? Yeah, since they deleted it just now. um. Okay, air missiles no longer lose accuracy due to stress. Okay, this was different on the anniversary patch, so that's interesting. Flares a bit increased a bit more. Also you now get double the fuel, so compared to live, I think people would find this change very nice. You now have much more. I think a couple of planes like the Raptor. Let's use the Raptor, right? It now has 270. It was 180. Okay, so they have 50% more fuel. Okay, my bad. There you have it. And the afterburner also spends less fuel. Now it consumes it by 2 per second instead of 3. And then another example would be the MiG-35. Same with the CJ, you know. I think people used to have a big issue with the CJ's fuel, but now it has 60 more, so you can loiter for another minute. That's also pretty nice. But yeah, overall like 50% more fuel across the board. And then the speed and maximum speed or acceleration for the 9 kilometer air-to-air missiles are also buffed just as to like perform much similarly to the AMRAAMs. We'll use I mean I can't find footage for you, it's gonna take too much time, but now their max speed is basically the same. Uh, the only downside to running these, besides being more expensive, is that they also okay. For example, let's use a build with only our 37s, the one that I actually like to use. So this one, where I have our 37s and our 77s, which is 4 9 kilometers and 2 7 kilometers, and then the other one has a bunch of 7 kilometers, like this. So about the same price, but you can definitely tell that when I'm out. Wait, what? Okay, well I guess they changed it. Okay, well now 9 kilometers are definitely more busted then. Why would you use... Because previously on the PT, the reload time, like the out of ammo time, would actually be a bit longer, like 1 to 2 minutes longer than the 7 kilometer spammer. And now that they made the 9 kilometers just overall, like yes, sure they do have less in quantity, but it's not gonna matter when you fire first. You're always like, if you get lucky and then you just tap this thing, then you can just go back and then he has to wait 10 minutes. And I think this is a lot of buffs for 9 kilometers. I don't know, man. Who came up with these changes? I don't know, but we'll see how it goes, shall we? We'll see how it goes. I definitely recommend running the Jadams if you have the budget for it. Like even the Raptor is cheaper now. And look, 4 minutes and a half, 4 minutes. So like, yeah, sure, the cooldown scales around the price, but it could have been longer. It could have been longer as the old PTE. But you know, well, I guess we'll just deal with it, not cope about it too much, and embrace it, I suppose. Also, smart bombs now take 0 seconds to aim. I personally don't like this because you can abuse this fairly easily. It's 1 second on live already, and you could do a 90-degree turn and then just blast someone sometimes. But you know, I mean, I guess sure we'll see how it goes. But this was also on live before, so you don't have to that. Um, uh, that being said, you can now no longer do a safe low altitude precision strike, which I made a video about it before. It's called the slaps. I don't know and watch that anyways, but that's fine. Um, and you can no longer fly in at low altitude, use a bombing run, and then laser the target. It's not allowed anymore. So you kind of have to use precision strikes for that. And then units can now be dropped one by one or all at once via emergency drop. Okay. And then most fighters or most planes are now only you can only have 2 available. And then some planes can now fly at higher altitudes, like the B2, the B1, the Tu-160s, you know, the heavier, like the planes that don't get one tapped, and also the transport planes. So yeah, a couple more things here and there. Most drones. Okay, I guess they all have the same amount of HP. So they die to 2 stinger shots and into 1 SAM missile or the what's it called again? Air-to-air missile. So, and then we have a bunch of like price changes, but this could definitely change. Overall, you would expect like things like the tank guns to be a bit more pricey. The Barus is finally back, you know, like it's now 300 points, 57 millimeter. Although in a meta dominated by tanks, I think this is a fairly reasonable change. Meanwhile, Booker's still in the dirt, but we'll you know, that's fine, I guess. Booker probably got too much time to be on the meta, so it's gonna be out of the meta for a while. Okay, so here are the helicopter changes. Did they? Okay, they still deleted it. All right. And then, yeah, that's about it for everything, and a bunch of bug changes. Oh, we're finally at the bottom! Hooray! Okay, only took us 35 minutes, not so bad. So, I know there are a lot of changes here. They're probably going to make an official Steam announcement and Steam post about it, but I guess you would have access. Okay, there's 90 people looking at this document right now. I'm pretty sure this. I mean, this is so we can share it already. So I'll put it in the description of this video and also my Discord. So anyways, guys, thank you for watching today's video. I will be absent for the next 2 days or so because I have some actual things to do in real life and the government needs me. Anyways, but still, thank you for watching until the very end. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Yes, now I'll see you guys next time. And let's well, I guess I don't know if you're concerned about the future of Broken Arrow, I think at least try it. You know, at least try it and see how it goes. I also noticed a couple of different things, and that I should at least try it out before actually commenting on it. So thank you for watching, and bye bye.